Chief Kepner, I'd like you to introduce yourself and then give your perspective and your thoughts about what things are going to look like after a disaster.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Kady Kepner, and I'm the Assistant Bureau Commander for our Operations Central Bureau with the Los Angeles Fire Department. From what I've heard, Patrick, you're pretty spot on, and you've everything that I was going to say, you've pretty much presented in your PowerPoint or presentation. But one thing I do want to, a couple things I want to say is, first of all, hope is not a strategy. So for everyone out there that's hoping the big one won't hit or hoping there won't be a natural disaster in the next few months, that's not a strategy. Preparedness is the most important part of making it through a disaster, whether it be an earthquake or anything else. So last time I presented with you, Patrick, we talked about kind of what the fire department would be doing immediately after an emergency and how we may not make it to individual homes or people within the first few days because we have to prioritize where our resources are needed the most. And usually that's where the biggest life hazard or life safety is going to be affected. So there may be neighborhoods that we don't get to within the first few days, and that's because our resources will be so overwhelmed and limited. So it's so important that you, within your neighborhoods and communities, are able to help each other and help sustain food, water, emergency, medical care for minor injuries. So I won't get too much further into that, but within 5 to 15 days, we're going to be getting a lot of help from our regional partners, whether it be through mutual aid or automatic aid. We'll be getting resources from all over the state to assist us in our continuity of operations. And every bureau has a plan as far as continuity of operations and getting back to our mission critical plan and what we need to accomplish. Again, especially life safety being our #1 priority and being able to respond to emergencies where we can assist the communities and the public. Each bureau also has a resiliency and recovery captain that helps assist with this process as far as the recovery after an emergency. And as you know, Patrick, we're in constant contact, and that individual is in constant contact with the CERT captains in order to get information out and information being brought back into us as to where we are most needed. There will be shelters open for people who do run out of food or water, but they may not be in a location that's within a close proximity to where you're at. So, but within the first few days, we're going to be working through our Emergency Operations Center, our Department Operations Center, to be able to open shelters and assist people that absolutely can't make it, whether their home has been destroyed or, like I said, they run out of the essentials. But most important is going to be your neighborhood and these CERT teams and the neighborhood teams so that you guys can look out for each other. And like you said, Patrick, I liked what you talked about is get to know your neighbors now, because in an emergency, when you're knocking on that door, for your neighbor 3 doors down, if you've met them before, talked to them and have built a relationship, you're going to have a comfort level already. And that's a big part of, surviving after a disaster is being able to feel comfortable where you're at, who you're with, that they're going to be able to assist with all your needs as well. Evacuation, some neighborhoods will need to be evacuated, and we will have people, hopefully to assist with that and obtaining locations for you to go to. And then within 5 to 15 days, hopefully some kind of repopulation as well. Hopefully we will be getting some resources back. Electricity may be out for weeks, but things may be coming on as far as government resources as quickly as we possibly can, working with our government officials. But again, hope is not a strategy. So prepare for weeks if you can, for 2 to 3 weeks with food, water, generators, fuel, all of that, because if you're prepared, then you can help out your neighbors as well. Unless there's any specific questions regarding the fire department and our actions, that's kind of all I want to present, because you've done such a great job, Patrick. So I can wait for questions when we're done.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to introduce Chin, who is our South Bureau CERT coordinator. Chin, do you have a few words you'd like to say, your perspective?
I'm sitting here unmuting myself. Everything you've seen in this presentation is true, as they used to say in the old Dragnet series. And this is something that all of our neighborhoods and neighbors need to get into. I know it takes you into a place where you might have to interact with your neighbors, but as you've seen in this particular presentation, it's unrealistic for us to think that we can get by alone. And even for those people who have also done their own individual preparedness, it's still unrealistic that you're going to make this alone. So the only thing I can say is that we as a community, we need to come together. We need to make this planning happen. And like Chief Kepner said, it's not a plan. So definitely reach out to us. One thing that we've got going on is the neighborhood team program, which really brings all this stuff together, like the Ryland program, neighborhood training, and even your senior lead officers and neighborhood watch. Let's really start pulling that in these communities, because you see what you're up against. And I think that's really all I have to say on that one.
Thank you, Chin. And Chief, I don't remember if I said thank you, but thank you for your words and for being here. Justin, would you unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and then your perspective?
All right. Can you guys see me okay?
We can.
Great. Patrick, thank you so much. My name is Justin Flemming. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, Marine Corps combat veteran of the Iraq War. I currently, along with my executive officer, who's law enforcement, we run a firearms training company. So I kind of had talked to Patrick a little bit, and he'd asked me to bring kind of my perspective from a military background, having been field infantry. Patrick, you pretty much covered all of it. I had pages and pages of stuff, and you pretty much hit every point. So just something that I did want to touch on, kind of from a physical security standpoint, if we do go, weeks and days and without law enforcement or first responders, just because the Marine Corps, we got to do everything in 5 paragraphs or less, or have it written in crayon. So something for physical security purposes. There's a great acronym called SAFESOC, and it covers security. So who's going to be on your security team? Who are you looking for to provide security for your neighborhoods? What are their roles? Are they armed? Are they unarmed? Like Patrick said, armed security in and of itself can carry its own set of problems and issues. So that's something that you as a team and a security team need to kind of figure out the depth of the security you want to provide for your neighborhood or your area of operation. A is avenues of approach. If someone is going to come to you, know your boundaries, what your area is, what your neighborhood is, and what are the most likely ways people that you don't necessarily want there are going to get in. Know where people are going to come in. Walk your area of operation. Know it well. You should at your neighborhood, but really with a discerning eye of what the most likely avenues of approach are. Go ahead and walk it. Physically take your security team out there and walk that area. Do your recon. Fields of observation. Make sure if you set people up for security that they can actually see what they're looking at. Don't stick them behind a building or behind a tree or someplace where they can't see. Make sure they've got open fields of observation so they can see what's going on, what's coming down the road, what's going to be coming to those likely avenues of approach. Entrenchment. The other thing too, if you are, you maybe have people that are desperate out there, you don't want to just stick your guy out there on a lawn chair by himself and have him watch the block. Put him someplace safe, entrench him where he can see things, but he's safe if he does need to hunker down. Supplemental positions for many different reasons. Maybe you need to move because situations change. Maybe there's an aftershock that's taking your initial positions and compromise them. Maybe it's unsafe where maybe you had everything perfectly planned out, and when the disaster happens, all of a sudden every place you thought was going to be the best place in the world has been compromised, and now it's a dangerous place to be. Have supplemental positions to put your folks and your security team. Obstacles, again, that kind of goes into avenues of approach. You know, have entry control points. Don't just let people come walking into your neighborhood. Make it difficult for people to you know, drive a vehicle and actually have it where you can get out, maybe search the vehicle depending on, you know, how long or what you think your threat level is. Don't just pile up a bunch of trash in the road. Make them so they have to slow the vehicle down before they start approaching where you've got your people that are checking people in and out of your neighborhood. Make them serpentine a little bit, slow the vehicle down so they can't just hit the gas and plow right through, you know, whatever the washing machine or whatever you decide you're going to put in the middle of the road. And finally, camouflage. And Patrick really spoke to this point. You know, if you're the only neighborhood that's got your stuff together, you got all your lights on and everybody's, you know, standing out there in the open, and at night you're, you know, having a block party and everybody else is suffering, you're going to draw a lot of unwanted attention to yourself. So camouflage your positions. Make sure not everybody needs to know where your security team is, what's going on, or what assets you guys have available to you. So again, I think Patrick pretty much covered all of those, but having it in that nice, easy acronym kind of helps you keep it all organized when you're putting it together with yourself and your security team.
What was the acronym again?
It's SAFESOC, SAFESOC.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Chin, thank you, Justin. Chin, did you manage to get any CPAP members to join us?
I'm
All right.
CPAB.
Oh.
Does that help?
Yeah, sure. Judy, do you have any perspective on this topic?
Sure. All I have to say is one thing. I don't know, the officers are thin. They're going to be around. They're going to try do their best, but they have to prioritize, obviously. If they're going to try to help LAFD and assist in keeping people away from the fire or evacuating a fire area, don't be offended. Don't be, you know, don't take it personally. The people who are doing their jobs to keep things from getting worse are doing their jobs, and don't pick a fight. Just go and stay focused on your neighborhood and who needs help and how to organizing your neighbors. That's how a lot of fights start, and that's not good for any of us.
Thank you, Judy.